Hi, my name is Brandy Cruther, and I'm the communication strategist at Madison Park Technical High School, and I am honored to be here. You guys know about the MP Spotlight Series. Well, we are highlighting one of our fabulous ESL teachers at our school. All right, and her name is Settenah Wright. Hi, Miss Wright, how are you doing today?
Hi, Brandy. Hi, everybody. I'm doing well, thank you.
Well, it is so great to have you. I mean, when I think of, Black history in the community, I think of you. And to have you at Madison Park Technical High School teaching English as a second language is phenomenal. Could you tell me what made you become a teacher?
Initially, my journey started in another country. I had always had a love for English, and I want to say that I am a Madison Park alumni. And my love for English was nurtured by my English teachers at Madison Park. So I have them to thank for that. Did I ever thought I would return and give it back to students who have a high need of it? Absolutely not. But as I lived abroad one day in San Juan, Puerto Rico, I was looking for work, and someone at a church I was attending said they had a friend who had a language school, an ESL school for adults. And I wasn't thinking much of it, but once I went through with that lead, I ended up teaching ESL to adults, and I loved it. So I started off, I did that for 2 years. And then when I returned to the United States, I decided to stay on that journey.
Settenah, you talked about being an alumni. I was going to ask you that question. What was it like to be an alumni or a graduate of Madison Park Technical High School, and what vocational program did you study?
Okay, when I was in Madison Park, oh my goodness, it was the biggest high school in Roxbury at that time. We had our building, in addition, we had the O'Brien building. Now all of that was Madison Park, and we had it all to ourselves. We used to have the livest pep rallies, the livest Thanksgiving football games. And there was me. I was extremely introverted. I was very, very introverted. I had about 2 friends out of all those students and all those people in the building. And I was extremely shy, and I was very, very quiet. But I functioned, I came out just fine in this humongous school, in my neighborhood of Roxbury. So my vocation was radio and TV.
Oh, shoot.
And so I, once again, didn't even realize the connection of my love for English with radio and TV. When Mr. O'Brien, I had Mr. O'Brien, for anybody that had James O'Brien. I had Mr. O'Brien. I had a class where you had to be articulate, and you had to be able to speak on the microphone in the morning. They used to let us make announcements in the morning, and it would go over the speaker. The radio kids did it. And I learned so much in that class. I ended up with a radio internship at formerly WILD over in Roxbury as a teenager, as a senior. It landed me a position there, and I learned a lot about what goes on the back end in radio. So it was really an awesome experience. To this day, I have some of my best friends from Madison Park. My English is now being used to help out other students that have it as they arrive newly to this country to be able to function, which is our mission, is to prepare them for the workplace and for post-secondary. Can't do that without the English language. So I'm just really, really happy to be back in my alma mater in my hometown of Roxbury helping.
Well, I think that's so cool to be able to come back and teach at a school in which you graduated from. Absolutely. But something I want to talk to you about is this Black history thing. And one thing I admire about you, and I feel comfortable saying it, is how you like to make sure everyone in the community is educated about Black history. Why do you think that's important?
I think it's important because naturally, it's very natural for me because of my upbringing, and the piece about giving back to the community comes from my grandfather, who had a business in Roxbury, a Nubian Notion Incorporated, for over 50 years. And he was always about the community. Anyone that entered into our family business almost got a lesson. He was very talkative. And so he was always about wanting the community to have that information and to be educated on those things. And so now I kind of find myself naturally gravitating towards that same information. And it kind of dawned on me that one day that the students that are newly arrived to this country, they don't have the background information of general information that we have, such as I mentioned before, why there's a Martin Luther King Boulevard in every Black American neighborhood. There's a reason why that is. And they would not have that connection because it came from a rural place in another country where maybe Dr. Martin Luther King was not discussed or talked about. He never went there, so there is no connection to him at all. Versus here, we have an entire national holiday about him. We have street names about him. We have street names in schools. And the same thing with Barack Obama and Malcolm X. So I just decided that because our school was located on Malcolm X Boulevard, we're not that far from Martin Luther King Boulevard, and our first Black president actually spent time at the Reggie Lewis. We have a wall mural of those three men at Madison Park that students pass by every day. And it's right at the other where they enter, actually, right where they enter school, there's that big mural. So I just decided I wanted to be able to connect all of those pieces to show them why there's a mural in our school, why there's a street name that our school is located on, and why if they ever went to Roxbury and went down Martin Luther King Boulevard, why that street name was there. Those people were actually here in the very same neighborhood as the students that come here to be educated. I wanted something positive that our students could value about their neighborhood and community versus the press that happens to leak out about the neighborhood that they go to school in. You know, the things that don't get discussed in the press, things that don't get discussed in the community, unless you know people who were around and who you're hearing conversations, which was me. So I thought it was very valuable for me to bring those things that's not in the textbooks as we're reimagining our school system and dismantling the way that it exists now. It includes our immigrants who are coming here. They're going to be working professionals. They're going to be perhaps post-secondary and contributing to society. And they need to know this information because it's easier for them to exist now that we've had some of these Black Americans that went through the trenches for them to get here, for Dr. King to be able to go to Boston University at that time and study for a highest level of education one can get, which is a PhD, is golden. And so now they can go there and they can go for their bachelor's and see someone with the same skin color and maybe be inspired to travel to Boston University to be educated just like he did. So I thought it was important for them to know these details that no one is talking about, that's not in the books anywhere, but the evidence of it was just all around them. And that's bringing a deeper connection for our students. So that's the reason why I decided to go for it.
And how do you help your students? I love how you're talking about, you use some of the visuals, but what are some other ways that you help them to see themselves using a Dr. King, using a Malcolm X, to see themselves laying down such powerful footprints themselves that someone else can walk?
One of the things I often remind my students is that you can aspire to have the same journey as some of these men that we're discussing have had. They did not come from an inheritance where they had, what we call in America a silver spoon. They did not have, they came from single mothers. Okay, maybe not Dr. King, but Malcolm X certainly had a broken family. Barack Obama's family was not intact either. And these were men who worked their way through. That's the thing I really want them to get from the three men that I started off talking about. By the way, the series is called Black History, Black Boston. And the reason that I have those two together is because it isn't just general Black history. I wanted our students to know some of the deep history that is connected to Roxbury and Boston for people that look like you and I, and some of them too. And I want them to know that, once again, these are not people that anything was given to any of them. They had to go out and they had to work for everything. All three of them did. And that's the thing that I want them to get. I want them to get the work ethic. I want them to come to Madison Park and get the English for free. Take everything that we have in Madison Park for free. and you go out there and you contribute to society, you know, you have your Nubian notion. Put your what am I going to see in 10 years from you with this information and knowledge that you have that somebody else worked for. Now you go and take it and you go and put it and contribute it towards our city the way you do. So that's the main thing I want students to get.
Now, Madison Park Technical High School is a very unique school. As we already know, it's one of the only premier vocational schools in Boston.
Right.
With that being said, you're talking about just teaching one part of academics.
Correct.
What do you tell them about the vocational programs here and how that can really propel them to the next level and starting a career and being able to really take care of their families? How do you help shape that as well?
I remind them about our mission statement, which is that students, we are to prepare you for the profession. That's our job. We don't just prepare you for further academia or post-secondary community college or university. We are getting you ready to go right into the workforce. And when you enter into the workforce like that, you're going to be bilingual students. Your communication is going to be very important. You will have communication skills coming out of my class that will help service a broader audience. Yes, you will service people from your native tongue. That's going to be beautiful. But you know what? Somebody else who's like me might want to get services from a plumber with your skills that might need my help. And I don't speak Haitian Creole, but I speak English. You will be able to service me. And as bilingual students, it's important that you take those unique skills out of this unique school and you value those skills. Something else I found in my research is that in the city of Boston, Creole languages are one of the top 6 languages spoken within the city of Boston. And we have them right here at Madison Park. We have Haitian Creole, we have Cape Verdean Creole. Yes, we do have Spanish, Portuguese, and a little bit of the Asian languages, but the 2 languages that are inside those top 6 languages spoken in the city of Boston, we have right here at Madison Park. And I want students to know that that is something that is a very important value. Sometimes people see that and they think, you need to know English. Well, guess what? The fact that this student is bringing their native tongue when they arrive here is a plus. That's a huge plus. And then on top of that, coming out of Madison Park with developing their English skills so that they are opening and broadening their audience. Or if they go work for somebody else, guess what? They're going to get all the customers that speak that language. Everybody's going to be looking for them. And so that company is just going to drive all that in. So the main thing that I tell them is to value the language that you bring and then value what Madison Park gives you for your English development, marry them, put them together, and then you go out there and you make your mark in society.
Wow, I think that's so cool. Something else that I liked, and I've been reading some of your work as well as looking at the videos. I just have to say this. Something that you did, which I thought was pretty cool, is you went to Dr. King's house and you showed the plaque. Could you tell us a little bit about that? Now you're going to visit Malcolm's house, Dr. King's house, and you're bringing that back to your students. Could you explain why you're doing videos like that?
Yes. So when you're teaching in the English as a second language community, it's very important to have other things besides passages and text. You need images. Videos are very helpful because it helps to increase their listening skills and their speaking skills, asking them to tell you about the video. So first you put the listening skills in, and then you ask them to put the speaking skills back out about the subject. I knew that it was really important for them to know that place because, number one, I'm sure they passed by it so many times. And you should I know, where's that? That's why I didn't say anything in the video. I didn't even say what street I was on. I just panned around. And they were like, I know where that is. I know where that is. And it just ignited them. They were so excited. And secondly, I wanted them to know that once again, that's located at what we call Lower Roxbury. But he was right here. He was right in Nubian Square. He was all around with his messages about protesting. public school education, actually,
Mm.
and the rights of Black Americans needing better access to public education here. And I knew that that video would definitely give a deeper connection. It's different if I would have said, you know, he lived right there on Massachusetts Avenue, but it's not the same as an actual video where you are passing by that so many times and you have no idea that that man was there as he attended Boston University. That was his first apartment before he met Coretta Scott King. He lived right there as he attended Boston University. And I just think the reactions, I mean, it was incredible, the reactions just that snippet of that video. They were so surprised, you know, that, and so it's once again just speaks to what I've been talking about. All this evidence is all around them, and our students don't know until we bring it to them into the classroom.
One thing I liked is you talked about the different ways of learning, Settenah, and I had the opportunity to teach physical education, and I was the only, I spoke English, and I was teaching Cape Verdean students, so I could appreciate the visuals that you're talking about. Could you tell us a little bit more about new students coming to this country and us just educating them, not just being teachers, but being just people? What are some ways in which we can make other people feel comfortable?
Well, when you have newcomers, one of the things that as young people, we may want to keep in mind is they 9 times out of 10 have had some sort of sacrifice to be able to get here. A lot of the times their families will send them to live with another family here, and their parents will stay back home. And that's a really difficult thing to do. So they're over here for opportunity, and their parents may or may not have had the funding to be able to bring the entire family over. So they will send their children, and then the mother and the father will stay back. And the child may stay with either an older sibling, an aunt, or something like that. And then they have to get used to the cuisine of Americans, the cereal and the milk. Little things like that we think are not that really big of a deal. It's not that common in a rural place in Honduras to have cereal and milk. You might have something else. You might have some fish, some plantains. You might have something else culturally related. So then you have this diet that you have to connect to when you come over here. Your parents are not here, you know, and your identity sometimes to them politically can be in question, because if we are saying, you know, we'd like to be able to help you develop your English, to them, sometimes that can be a little bit of a threat. And they can say, excuse me, no, I'm going to be all about Spanish and nothing more. I miss my friends. You know, my friends are back home. And so between missing the friends, missing their parents, and then them trying to develop a new language, they think we want their first language to go away, which I personally am against 100%. I tell them that, no, you're going to be able to come here and make more money than me. You will be able to go back and forth between more than one language. And do you know, here in Boston, that's actually a pretty cool thing. Yeah. Where you're settled, where your family has settled. Some of the things I would like for people to know, like, is that, you know, kind of think about some of the things that they had to give up a little bit to get over here that we take for granted.
Yeah.
And, you know, we don't have to give up our parents to be able to come to Boston, you know, at least in most cases, in American cases, whereas them, like, they're all the way across the Atlantic Sea. And so sometimes emotionally, if they seem a little disconnected as they're trying to learn, if their stomach is hurting, you know, it's probably that cow milk that we eat all the time with our cereal to them. And so that can be a little bit of a disruption. Their identity, they feel sometimes, some of the older ones are like, oh, you know, I don't want to give up my Spanish. No, you're not going to give up your Spanish. We're going to add to that. And then you're going to be able to go back and forth between both. So that's what I would like for people to think about when they come across newcomers who are very quiet. They're just kind of looking around. And assemblies, they're not saying anything. They're just kind of looking around. They don't understand yet. That's all. They give them time. That's a main thing I would say to people. Give them some time to adjust.
Now, you said this is a series, so you have 3 stories in which you're going to be telling. Could you kind of tell us about the next 2, just a little bit of what else you're going to continue to write about?
Yes, I would love to be able to finish Malcolm X especially since now his home has actually been technically designated as a historical landmark. So
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my goodness, I have new stuff to add.
Yes, yes.
And it's right in my hometown. My middle school is actually right behind his house.
Oh, you went to school there?
Yes,
Good for you.
I did, and I grew up like 5 minutes from there. I was like, oh my goodness, I can't wait to tell the kids all this. So once I get that footage together, it'll be Malcolm, and the autobiography of Malcolm X. It is a little bit raw. I will have to kind of like get the sensitive pieces, but it is a Boston Public School approved reading, so I can use it. And then with Barack Obama, I do want to bring that to light. That's the one that they're most currently connected to because he's very recent.
Right.
So I have a small article that I will share about his time in Roxbury. It was very quick. It was right after Reggie Lewis. And then after that, I have people like Melnia Cass on my list, which is, we all know her street is really, really big down there by Harrison's. And I have Mimi Faust. I have some people that are very, very local who have been working to improve this community, and nobody knows about them. And I just said, we can do the big ones, like the internationally known ones, like I started. And then I want to just come on down to Roxbury, to the people who impacted just Roxbury. So that's my plan. COVID interrupted that last year.
That's all right. That's all right. Cause see, I'm sitting here and I'm in awe every time I'm in awe every time I speak to you, and every time you what I call drop a gem, because you drop a lot of gems, and I feel like we have to do better at treasuring those gems and polishing them, like we're doing with Malcolm X's house, like we're doing when you go down and you're showing off Martin Luther King's plaque outside where he lived, and then putting it together like you're doing when you talk about BU. So all the work that you're doing in the community, it's to me, it's breathtaking.
Thank you.
And it really needs to be magnified. And what I like is you're not just doing great work, you're giving back to the school who gave to you.
Yeah.
So to sit here and hear you say you was in TV production, and it's phenomenal. So I love what you're doing. And if you could give me one word, so we're gonna kind of throw this off, to describe where you would really, and I shouldn't say one word, just give me a sentence, what you would really like the kids to learn and to be able to do. So that might take a little more words. With all of this history, what would you like them to do with it years to come?
In the years to come, with all of this history, I would like for them to relate to examples of people that, once again, no one gave them anything. They worked for it. Some people, they get things inherited to them and they take it, and it's a total different behavior. But you talk about some people that work for everything they got. Malcolm X, he was educated in the streets, and Martin Luther King was educated in the books. But guess what? Life experiences and academia really shaped both of those men heavily. And that's another thing I want them to go. I want them to connect to Malcolm X's life experiences, and I want them to connect to MLK's academic experiences and life experiences. And I want them to use those as examples of people who are Black Americans who made a serious impact internationally on this earth.
Well, Settenah, I celebrate you. It's Women's Month.
Thank you.
Women's History Month. So I appreciate you sharing all of your knowledge and all of your experience. And I wish you the very best. And I look forward to continuing to read more about the history of our community.
Thank you so much, Brandy, and happy Women's Month to you as well.
You too. Take care and have a great day.
You too. Bye.